There's an ambitious new project that broke ground in Phoenix this past weekend. Area nonprofits, along with students from Arizona State University, are building affordable, high-quality, tiny homes for veterans experiencing homelessness, mental illness, or other disabilities. The goal is to build 2,100 of these houses. The first ones are expected to be completed within the next 3 weeks.
Mousetrap here.
Hey, it's AP.
On today's episode, we travel to Phoenix, Arizona to cover an inspiring story about tiny homes making a big difference.
Hey, look! It's the double wide dudes! Woo, it's hot!
Well, all right. Welcome back to another episode of the Double Wide Dudes. Back in the studio. How you been, man?
Doing good. We've been busy. Our phone's been ringing a lot with all sorts of folks on the coast down there in Port Aransas and up by Houston that they just need some sort of housing ASAP, and that's kind of where we've been fitting in lately.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before all that gets fixed up. So,
yeah, between Hurricane Harvey and now J.J. Watt's out for the whole season. I mean, Houston's just taking a beating. Yeah, the game last night, he went down trying to sack the quarterback and just freak accident, broke his leg, I think, and he's out for the season.
Oh wow, that shows you how much I watch football, man. But damn, that sucks.
Yeah, but he's he put out something on Twitter today apologizing to the city of Houston, his teammates, and I know he feels horrible not being able to be there, but what he was able to do and what he continues to do for the city of Houston's just been amazing.
Yeah, he's got a lot of passion, and I bet you it hurts not being able to play, but he's going to come back stronger, I can imagine. Yeah,
he's one of those feel-good stories, Mousetrap, and with things that have been going on, just been a crazy world lately, especially last week, what happened in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. It's a bummer, man.
Yeah, I don't really know how to put it into words, but I just felt like more than ever we needed to find some kind of inspiring story, some kind of feel-good story that just, no matter what your political fiction, what your personal beliefs are, I think this is really a story that everybody can get behind. And tell you, after talking to Elizabeth Singleton, which we'll hear here in a minute, this isn't just a story about someone trying to make an impact and fix homelessness in their community. This is also a startup story, an entrepreneurial story. Her company, Build Us Hope, is a nonprofit, but it's a startup nonetheless. And you'll hear here in a bit when we get into the interview, she went through that startup journey that I think in some form or fashion we're kind of going through on our end, Boston Mobile Homes. The first year, it's been, can you believe, 8 months now? We're coming up on a year.
The holidays are around the corner, and that's going to mark a year doing the business. It's crazy, man.
It's crazy, yeah. But to hear and talk with Elizabeth and share some of those entrepreneurial experiences that, you can only really experience if you've gone through a startup and started a company yourself, the way we have, Mousetrap, and it's just a story I think that's going to speak to everybody's hearts, and hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree, man. After listening to the interview and seeing her journey and hearing it, it's an amazing thing that she's doing for these veterans.
Yeah, it really is.
But without further ado, let's get into the interview. You guys enjoy.
My name is Elizabeth Singleton, and I am the founder and president of Build Us Hope. We are a nonprofit development company that is currently developing tiny homes for veterans and those in need of affordable housing, like those who are disabled and are mentally ill. So currently we have been working on our first model property, which we actually took a location right across the street from or bought a property right across the street from our current larger shelter in order to have a clear message of that tiny homes is an option of affordable housing. and it's also an option to end homelessness among those, especially who have served our nation and those who are disabled.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last week when we were chatting, I thought it was kind of funny. You put your location right across from the city housing office to make sure you got that attention this issue so desperately needs. What's it been like on your end trying to get local support, both from the representatives and the community there?
Well, 2 years ago when we first started, it was pretty much no tiny houses. We're not interested. We don't have the permitting, or we don't have the requirements needed to put something like that here. We don't want blight in our city. And then some were interested. They wanted to know more about it and to see, what we were going to create. They showed us their pictures of tiny homes, which were everything that we try to stay away from. Which I don't put those communities down because they're trying to at least provide a resource. But they showed us, I think, the worst part of the tiny house movement, I guess you would say.
Right.
And then they pretty much said that was going to be the entire community. So I would have to say today they are very happy. They've been really responsive. Of course, it took 2 years of working with our city planning and zoning department. They really didn't have any regulations or permitting process for this size house. And so that was, I would have to say that was a struggle for me. It was emotionally and financially a struggle for me and the company. So, but I think now that we're at a place where we are leaving a legacy for others to be able to build a tiny home, and even a tiny house on wheels in the state of Arizona, that it won't be so difficult for them and it will be affordable for them to build.
Gotcha. So overcoming the stigma associated with tiny homes, factory-built housing, and so did you have to write new legislation, or how did that go?
Well, what we had to create was a system for the planning and zoning process, and currently we are writing documents that basically, so when you go into your planning or zoning department, they usually give you a checklist of what you need to have for this to be able to do this type of permitting, whether it's plumbing or site development. Well, they'll have the same guidelines for being able to build a tiny home and the requirements. So not so much of getting any legislative changes. We actually just kept working with our permitting zoning department to understand that asking us to build a two-car garage or a two-car garage on a tiny house was not, it made no sense whatsoever, and or the amount of egress and density purpose, which means how many homes we could get on one property, based on your density, your amount of density that you would have on a smaller infill property. Mm-hmm. That, having, I typically, when you build a micro community or a tiny house community, you kind of build them in a pocket style setting. And the pocket style is where we face each other, and you usually have a community garden that the homes are facing towards, so everyone's patio is facing towards, or you have some type of center space connecting us together. For us to be able to create something like that, we had to give up 50 feet of our property in order to be able to set something up like that. So we were able to work with them to show them that this wasn't really realistic. And to get some of those changed. So it hasn't been a legislative change, more of just how the planning and zoning developed or looked at their current policy.
Gotcha. There's shelters, like in San Antonio, we have multiple shelters. I'm sure there's the same in Phoenix. I would imagine this community living would definitely help with independence and getting these folks back on their feet. Were there any other goals you were looking to accomplish with this community structure of helping the homeless population versus, say, the shelters that are more traditionally used in cities?
Well, I'm not a homeless provider, I would like to say. I don't like to consider myself as a homeless provider. What I consider myself as a developer of affordable housing. And the only way that you can end homelessness in America and in our communities and in our neighborhoods is to be able to offer alternative, or not say alternative, but multiple options of affordable housing, and to deregulate some of the permanent requirements to make it feasible or affordable needs to be removed or adjusted for this type of style living, which it's nothing new. It's not a trend. We've been living in small and tiny homes for centuries. But so we don't consider ourselves so much as a homeless program. We consider it the solution to homelessness. Just one of the solutions to homelessness. And so the shelters systems that I see in our communities are really sometimes, I feel that they have a good heart and a good structure of being a shelter. But as far as what their experience is in trying to find housing or their experience or being a solution, shelter is not a solution to me. Shelter is just a temporary place that a person should be to get back on their feet. I don't see tiny houses or micro houses as a transitional period. To me, I see them as permanent housing. So we don't typically, people relate now tiny houses to a save the day for homeless people, and that's not what it's doing. It's creating affordable housing. So working with the shelters here has not been it's been interesting. But they are, they serve one purpose, and I believe that having an option of affordable housing, having enough affordable housing, will eliminate homelessness. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like your goal is to provide a permanent solution where these folks can become homeowners and kind of get out of the rat race of going from shelter to shelter. Is that summing up pretty well?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, if you look at so in our state, we need 200,000 affordable housing units. And last year, we only needed an estimated 145 affordable housing units. So we're not seeing a decrease, meaning that we have more affordable housing units coming online for people to be able to use. Whether you increase housing in one place, but you have more people who move here, you lose affordable housing, or with our market being so positive and at a 1 to 3% vacancy rate, our rental market and even an increase in our houses for sale. So it's positive for those sellers or those landlords, but it's negative for the average renter or home buyer. So what we're trying to create is to have a permanent solution for that. With the tiny houses or micro housing, you have multiple options of sustainability to be able to own your home. And even if you rent, you still have a low cost than what we currently have as our minimum rate, our medium rental rate. So the permanent solution to me, as using this as a permanent solution, is that it is affordable. Your cost of living becomes affordable. If you do take a mortgage on one of these homes, you're looking at a 5 to 10 mortgage rate instead of 30 years of your life, where you're just trying to pay off that mortgage. So it gives you more freedom with your time. It gives you more freedom with just, to me, I believe tiny homes really need you closer to the people around you. And how the tiny house communities are set up, like sustainability, gardens, aquaponics, anything like that, then that also contributes to that. I only create them as a permanent solution to a problem that we currently have. I don't look at it as a transitional period and for people's life. Now, People can say I may want to live or don't want to live in a tiny house. That's going to be up to them. It's just a simple choice. Do you want a 2-bedroom home, or do you want a 5-bedroom home? So it's the same sense to me.
Right. When I know we were talking last week, both in your state of Arizona and Texas, just a ton of folks moving from California that are really making that affordable housing crisis even worse. So it's awesome to have folks like yourself focusing on a permanent solution. In doing a little research, y'all got a tremendous amount of press, not just in Arizona but across the country. And I saw you've been nominated for Woman of the Year. What's it like? What's it like getting all this attention?
17 Woman of the Year award. She is Elizabeth Singleton, nominated by Marlene Dwinell. Marlene wrote to me and said Elizabeth is running a nonprofit organization to provide tiny homes for homeless veterans and the mentally or physically disabled. This Phoenix-based nonprofit plans to give the city's most vulnerable people a new home, and they're those tiny homes that you see on HDTV. They say the impact will be huge. It's called Build Us Hope, a branch of Singleton Community Services, and they're going to break ground this year on one of the first tiny homes. In fact, this community will be a first for homeless veterans, and there are a lot of them.
Well, I used to be in radio for several years, so I'm not. I've been an advocate for quite some time, so I'm used to media. It may be good or bad, but as far as what this current project, my son serves, and I always, when I build a project, I think about where I would want to live or what I would want to see my son be in or be a part of. So I make it personal to myself, and so when we're receiving the coverage, it's personal to the project. I mean, 2 years and still counting of working on this, and I mean, scraping everything out of your penny jar to get here. People thinking you're never going to get here and giving up on you. And then people truly hanging in and believing in you. It's been a positive for us. So getting all the coverage, I was telling some of my staff, I said, if you build it, they will come. And because this is a feel-good story for people, we do have a lot of drama and just a lot of tragedies in our communities lately, and people do want to hear good things. And I remember one of the reporters calling me and saying, you know what, we just need a feel-good story, and we believe this is it. Yeah. So it's been amazing, and I think it's just. I would tell people never give up. If this is something truly they want to do, like the media will come to your positive message, and especially if you're doing it to create change. And so to me, it's been very positive, very rewarding, and I think for all of my volunteers and my staff, I want to tell them to pat themselves on the back because they did this, and so I'm actually very happy for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this something y'all plan to, perfect in Phoenix and then spread elsewhere in the country, or are you focusing primarily on the home front for you?
Well, I get many calls and emails and letters from individuals all around, all across the United States, and I've gotten some from other countries. To be able, just asking, how did you do it? How did you get, some of your permits? How did you get some of your zoning requirements changed? And so I feel welcome to answer some of those questions. I can't always. Some of their states I'm not familiar with, and I do know quite a bit about multiple states' requirements. But we do see this project being taken into other states, not as it's just for us, but we're willing to work with other people who want to do it, because to me it's not about like, oh, I did something, I started something, or we got this, because it's people have been doing tiny houses forever, but it's about, I actually want to see this all across the United States as, again, an option of affordable housing, and not just it's a lifestyle change. So in order to do that, I have to encourage others to be able to do it and to be able to lend a hand for them to be able to do it. But I am focused right now in Arizona because we do have a major issue, and if we don't take care of it, we're going to see a lot more of our men and women who have served and those who are truly in need of affordable housing, suffer. So.
Right. Well, it's so awesome to follow your stories on LinkedIn and just see the progress you guys are making. If there's someone listening or someone that hears this that would like to get a hold of you guys to either donate, help, volunteer, or possibly learn how to do this in their community, how can they reach out to you?
I would suggest they really go take a look at our website at www.buildushope.org, or they can email me email us at info@buildushope.org. And I would be glad to answer any questions they have. They can take a look at some of our new models and that we have coming out. It's definitely a difference from where we were when we first started. But I look on our page, I'm like, oh, we need to change those pictures. Some of the first designs, I would encourage people, some of the first designs, I did it on my Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, wow.
So I taught myself SketchUp, how to do it. And, if you think you can't do it, you definitely can. You can make positive change, but, I think it's for all of us. So I definitely would check out our website or our Facebook at Build Us Hope as well. And I'm, again, free to be able to talk to you. I do have a busy schedule, but I will try my best to get back to you.
I can definitely vouch for that. And we will be sure to include the links to your website and Facebook page on our podcast page when we launch this. But thank you so much for that little boost of inspiration on our podcast and for what you guys are doing out there in Arizona.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate. I follow you as well, and I'm thankful to you, and I'm thankful for the whole alternative community. I hate being alternative. This is where it's always been.
Yeah, I like how you said it. Tiny homes go back centuries. It's a recent thing that we needed 3,000 square foot for 3 people, I guess.
Yeah, and I think people also need to still look. We still have in California and in New York where, you have 90 square foot apartments going for $2,000 a month. So it's still here. We're still living this way. So
yes, ma'am. Well,
I wouldn't pay $2,000 though for that space, but yeah, but it's still, I tell everyone this is not a trend. This has always been the trend is the 5,000 square foot homes. That's the trend.
Right, and definitely not a sustainable one. The rate we're going.
No, it isn't. No. So the focus is also in sustainability, and that's what I love about the tiny houses. They give you so many options, and you can do it in an affordable way.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we'll post some pictures as well, and thank you again, and look forward to seeing what it looks like when it's all said and done.
Oh, thank you, and I definitely will be sending you some, and I'll have them on my LinkedIn as well and our Facebook. So, and thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it and what you guys are doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, all right. That was the interview between Alberto and Elizabeth Singleton, talking about her nonprofit organization, Build Us Hope, really getting things running in Arizona.
Yeah, they're set to open here in a couple weeks, and what got me the most about her story and what her team's doing, Mousetrap, this truly is a permanent solution. Mm-hmm. We hear about the problem all over the place, but this is one of the first true solutions, permanent solutions to homelessness I've come across. This isn't just a fix it for the night kind of thing. This is true home ownership with the pride and the stability that comes with that I think is going to see a lot of these disabled and homeless veterans really get right back on their feet.
Yeah, it's going to be a big help, and with it being a permanent solution, man, she's making incredible moves, and this is just the start of it. I see something like that happening here in San Antonio.
Yeah, she's really she's got my gears ticking in my brain on how we can apply this to downtown San Antonio. you know, we work down there, and we go down there quite a bit. And you know, I saw on the news, what was it, last year, where they said we'd officially ended homelessness amongst our veterans. But, you know, I don't know who's a veteran who's not downtown, but I know for sure that homelessness is not permanently solved downtown San Antonio. And we've talked about it on this podcast, Mousetrap. We've got all these infill lots, you know, on the east side and around downtown San Antonio that are just sitting there, you know.
And what she's done with changing the zoning in Arizona, it's just, you know, it did take her 2 years with getting all that wrapped up, but pushing legislation and getting people behind this movement, I see it easily doable.
It's definitely doable. And I think their example at Build Us Hope is really going to serve as a model for other folks that want to take this to their cities and to their city councils and to their mayors and say, hey, I know we've got a problem. I think I might have a solution. Yeah. And as a community coming together, and I hope the more of us that are able to hear her story, you know, they've been all over the news. That's how we found out about them. Hopefully change some people's perspectives so we can get zoning changed and get some folks in the houses, Mousetrap.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, that wraps up this episode. I want to give a big thanks to Elizabeth Singleton for taking the time out of her day to speak with Alberto. You can check out what her and her team are doing on our website at www.buildushope.org and over on Facebook at Build Us Hope.
Yeah, and the audio clippings were adapted off that Facebook page from Beth McDonald at KEZFM and The Morning Dose. Big thanks to the media for continuing to cover this amazing story. And again, thank you, Elizabeth, for taking the time to visit with me.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.